We have like the same haircut.
Professional stream. I know. Zero or not zero. One. What is it? One on the sides and one into two.
I went to a
then
2.
One into a two, and then I trim on the top.
Two low fade, no skin,
Yeah.
and then down to 6 in the back, cut up in the front.
Nope.
To get the spike.
I cut
But
it
I don't
off.
have the spike. I don't have the spike up today.
That's
Normally
okay.
the spike's up.
I don't. I just brush my hair like a normal person. So, good evening, good morning,
All
good
about the
afternoon.
pomade.
Welcome everyone to your favorite OneTap gaming podcast, where you get all your gaming news in OneTap. How's everybody doing? My name is Solemn. Joining me as always is my co-host, Rums. Rums, how you doing today?
Good evening, everybody. Happy Veterans Day.
Yes, happy Veterans Day. Is it Jesus, already 11th. Man, this month is going by kind of quick, which is nice.
This year kind of is going by slow, fast.
Yeah, well, okay.
A
So
little bit of both.
most of the year's gone by slow, but November's gone by kind of quick, and I think that's just because I'm like in the trenches with school. So every day is kind of the same. I either wake up and do schoolwork, or I wake up and go to work and then come home and then do one of the other two. So
You ever seen Groundhog Day?
yeah, it's like me. It's like my whole life.
That's it.
All the
It's my
time.
life in college and
But it's okay.
Claude.
We're getting there. We're getting there. But yeah, so today is the first show of our new format, I guess you could say. Yeah, where we introduce some extra topics, some extra things to talk about. Not that Valorant has been down at all. In fact, they just finished the North American First Strike qualifiers, which were
Very good.
fantastic. Some amazing
Very
games.
fun to watch.
100 Thieves did very well, as I predicted. I thought they were going to go far. They got second, which is cool. I did not expect Envy to get first, though, which was
I didn't
also
either.
kind of cool. You know, them showing up and showing out was great. A lot of teams still had a lot, I think, to kind of work and readjust on. And then apparently with the way seeding was being done, a lot of teams kind of started to strategically lose. I mean, you know, throw for
Sentinels.
different seedings or stuff, because like they didn't feel like the seeding mattered anymore. So
Sentinels.
yeah, and the first
Can I
instance,
name drop?
Yeah, and the first instance of the EU First Strike, their first seeding was abysmal for their first run of that bracket before they redid it. So like they had seeds 1, 8, 4, and 7 playing in the top half of the bracket, like within 3 rounds. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, so like seed 1's first match was against seed 7 with 2 buys because of the way they had it laid out. Out of 128 teams.
Not the way I'd do it, but
No, certainly not the way I would do
you know,
it. No, especially with an even bracket. I don't even know if you need
No.
buys. Maybe a couple teams dropped out and made it weird, but still
maybe.
kind of silly.
I mean, yeah.
But anyway, that was kind of our first strike news. You catch
It's fun
me
to watch.
catch me streaming Valorant. I'm more apt to talk about Valorant while we're streaming Valorant. I should get back onto that horse relatively soon.
I think we have. There shouldn't be any like Valorant news. It's been a quiet week
Nope.
as
And
far as Valorant
patch,
goes since
patch
the
is
patch
super
dropped.
tiny. 112 is super tiny, targeting observer and quality of life for the visual side of things for watching games.
Right.
So they can improve kind of the first strike sentiment, and then they'll have a content patch closer to December, so that teams have a time to adjust before the finals. Kind of do a better job with their pacing and that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I'm excited though. But the big news and the big primary thing is that we're going to talk about AC Valhalla, Assassin's
Correct.
Creed Valhalla, came out just a couple days ago, and you've been playing it at least today. I think you got your stuff in, right?
Yeah.
I have not been, but I've been watching on my minimal free time. I've been trying to catch a stream or two to get some feel for it. But it's about AC
can't-
Valhalla, and then
I can't watch new games
Really?
on stream.
I
Well,
can.
if there's a game that I have interest in playing, I won't watch it on stream. I'll intentionally go out of my way to not watch it just
Fair
to
enough.
not spoil it.
Fair enough.
I've had too many games like get spoiled just by watching the games. Like, and I don't allow myself to experience it myself, so I just try to avoid it.
Fair enough. I kind of live vicariously through single player games because I don't get a lot of time to play them. So I'll
You know, that's more
Visit-
than fair.
I'll visit back through like Twitch streams and stuff like that, or YouTube videos when I get occasional free time. But it seems cool. I kind of lost touch with Assassin's Creed when Desmond's storyline finished, because that was the main thing that I cared about, was like the overarching story of what was going on. And then I kind of just stopped and toned out that series. And that was also the time where I like kind of hopped off of consoles and started to play and focus on building my computer a little bit more, and then those
Mm.
games weren't really readily available on the PC, so I kind of drifted away, and then the whole merge
Yeah,
happened. So
there was a weird time, now that you mention it, a weird time in PC gaming, like its evolution cycle, where single player games just kind of were not on the map
yeah,
as
outside
like
of like
console. Like,
Skyrim, I think.
yeah, so like console was the super heavy, single player games because they
Right.
had the solid hardware to be able to run it, and like PC just kind of didn't. So
It was just
maybe
expensive.
that was just my lifetime, and I was just too damn poor to be able
Yeah,
to
it was just
afford it. But
really expensive for those kind of high cutting edge single player games
yeah.
to play on a PC because of the way the parts were working. But now that it's kind of been brought into a comparable pool, you can build a PC for like $700 and it'll look like a new gen console if you do
Hmm.
it right. I don't know. I just was getting into more multiplayer games than single player games and finding my competitive void outside of that. So
Fair
I
enough.
just kind of drifted out. But so we have Valhalla. We'll talk about hear more Rumps talk about it. I'll kind of chime in. We have some Shadowlands, which I've been into. The pre-patch event to World of Warcraft Shadowlands because I've recently
Hmm.
started playing that game again, gearing alts and that kind of thing. And then DMCA news on Twitch. So the DMCA is the copyright law to protect millennial intellectual property like music, art, that kind of thing. And the way that it interacts on Twitch, because they've come down super hardcore on Twitch streamers and the use of music specifically. So,
Yeah, and I'll be glad to hear you talk about that because I've heard a lot about this, and a lot of my favorite streamers have
yep,
had to take off their clips and stuff
yep,
of that things of that nature because of DMCA. But I never put forth to do the time and research to wonder why. So
yep,
that'll be good.
yep. So we'll
Good to
talk
hear.
about that because that's big news for the format that we're currently on, which is Twitch. Our show goes live Wednesdays, usually at 8. We're live a little bit early today at 6, but you can find us on Twitch at OneTapcast pretty much every single Wednesday, and then earlier parts of the week we'll usually have 1 or 2 streams. So we'll kick things off, man. I want to hear about Valhalla, man. It looks really clean. You and Smith all have given it kind of high praise in the Discord.
Yeah.
I want to know. I want to know your initial thoughts on this early gameplay because you've been playing it most of the day. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So to establish my credibility with Assassin's Creed, I've been playing it since the series was created. Every single game I've touched, every single game I haven't finished all of them. I've not finished, I think, Unity, and there's one other one, but
Unity
all
was
the
really
really
good.
really important ones, Brotherhood, Assassin's Creed 2, 3. 3 is arguable. A lot of people don't like 3. I
I
love
like
3.
3. 3 was
I
fun.
loved 3. 3 was one of my favorites. One of my favorite periods in history too.
Yeah.
Black Flag, touched them all. I'm 5.5 hours into Valhalla. It
Excellent.
is amazing so far. I haven't cut too far into the storyline. I've just gotten through the intro sequence and a couple of the main quests afterwards. But so far, it feels great. It looks absolutely great. And I'm excited to see what the game holds. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it looks super cool. I'm a big fan of kind of the Viking era of history, like the Middle Ages and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Thomas, thank you a lot for that follow, man, on Twitch. We really appreciate it. We're going to get to DMCA here in just a little bit. I think it's going to be our next topic. But so it's really cool. I like the Viking-esque period. Middle Ages, Europe is really cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm a big fan of like the big broadswords and plate armor. I main warrior and WoW. I play all the heavy armor classes and other MMOs. It's kind of my jam.
Yeah.
But it looks really cool. I've gotten to watch, I don't know, probably like 6-7 hours of the story, I guess now. Over because I had to watch some early access streams and stuff like that, some earlier content that people put out. But it looks nice and more interactive than other games. You get to make a lot of choices. I don't know if that's a newer AC thing. I stopped playing around Black Flag, so
they started to implement the like RPG style choice in Origins.
okay.
The problem with Origins and Odyssey is that those choices didn't feel like they made an impact. They may or may not in Valhalla. It's too early for me to tell.
Sure.
But there have been some choices that at least feel like they have some minimal impact.
Okay, that's a good. I'm a fan of that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I can't say a lot more because the first opportunity it gives you to make an impact might be a little spoiler heavy.
No, we're gonna avoid
not.
spoilers for this week.
Probably not.
Maybe around the time we finish it. But so yeah, the choice system is super cool. It brings more like customization, I guess, to the character. Like you feel more in tune with your character, which is nice. And
it brings a little bit of intimacy.
Yeah, especially with their shift away from like the Desmond story when it finished. It didn't feel like those choices mattered because you were reliving memories specifically, whereas now you're more vicariously living through these characters in history instead. So the shift makes sense in my head.
Yeah.
One thing I did see the combat kind of earlier on, some guy was doing like some bar fights and then a couple of other things, which was kind of cool. But the combat actually looked difficult. Like I watched him die on normal like 4 times in a row to the same fight. And these are people that routinely just play these single player kind of games and challenge runs. So
I'd say it's a little more difficult. Your parry timings are harder. Your hit windows are harder. I'd say the combat difficulty is scaled up a little bit from the past two. I think my main gripe with Origins and Odyssey combat systems is they felt a little fantasy based.
Fair enough.
Swinging flaming swords that like your enemy on fire. That didn't really do it for me.
It's good for the end of the game.
It attracted a large crowd of people, but it just wasn't my thing. When I grew up on Assassin's Creed and Assassin's Creed 2 and Brotherhood, where it's a little more realistic.
For the most
part, the combat feels good because like when you're swinging an axe, and I was thinking about this. I was in the shower this morning after wrapping up a 2-hour session.
Right.
When you swing your axe or a axe, it feels heavy.
Excellent.
Right?
That's the best.
Like you can't just left click, and then just like light, and just like absolutely tag up your enemy. Like no, you're gonna expend a little bit of stamina and a little bit of time to hit your opponent, and that takes time.
Excellent.
And it feels
Excellent.
good.
But yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. And I don't know, man. There's the skill tree is kind of fogged, and you're gonna have to play through multiple times to feel each build out, which is kind of cool. I would agree with like the fancy, outlandish weapons and gear. I like that kind of stuff to look for in post game. But through the main game, I don't really want to hit people with like Phoenix swords or anything like that, Or I guess in this game it'd be more like Thor's hammer. If that's a thing, that shouldn't be a thing until after the main game.
Until you're a little more developed, yeah.
Where they kind of tie in
the thing I'll speak
AC
on skill
stuff.
trees is it's nice having that fog of war because it brings an element of I don't know,
Right.
You can see one tree in a pattern. So for those of you who don't know, you can see one tree like out, and then you have to branch out from that tree to get to another tree, and you can't see that second tree
until you get to
that. Makes sense until you get to it. So you don't know what's hiding behind that door until you progress down that path. And I will say that you can reset your ability points. You can just click a button and it'll reset all your points, and you can just readjust them. So it's not like you have to take multiple playthroughs to find it. It's just you have to end up finding it. So
which I think is cool, and it could introduce you to some new, unique styles you might not have thought of playing. I always tried to play like super stealthy and stuff in those games, and occasionally it was nice to just go grab like a warhammer and start swinging people. Taking out all of the guards instead of just like the one target you needed to.
Normally I'm stealth based in Assassin's Creed. I'm not in this one. My build is very.
Like with a Viking, you shouldn't be.
And that's kind of how that's kind of like where I was
run
going
at
with it. Is like I don't feel good having these hand axes on my belt and like sneaking around like.
No, I should be swinging these.
It doesn't get you into Valhalla.
I'd agree.
Honorable death, honorable fight.
Exactly.
Skull.
Yeah. So Valhalla, good so far. From what I've seen, solid at least 7 out of 10 from what I got so far. First 5 hours, do you recommend, yay or nay, buy or no?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Awesome.
I'd say so.
Awesome. Well, kind of next on this docket is, I don't know, it's not game news, but game related because it is the primary platform of Twitch. So DMCA is the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. So it's a set of U.S. laws that allows you to create and work and share content on digital service providers that like Twitch, YouTube, these kind of things. These are all affected by the DMCA copyright law subsection. What this means is you have to comply with this Copyright Act by kind of defaulting to the copyright holder. which means that if the copyright holder has reasonable ideology that the streamer or content producer is using their work without permission, they have to take it down, no question. They can't warn, nothing has to immediately come down if they're cited with a DMCA notification, right? So this could be me playing 30 seconds of a song. This could be, me walking by a store and that store is playing music that's copyrighted that I don't have the license to. All kinds of wild stuff that's massively impactful for a lot of these Twitch streamers. So like the DMCA, Twitch sings, dead, killed.
Yeah.
There's no more that you can get away with without buying the rights to the music you're trying to perform. Jake and Bake, a well-known IRL streamer who walks around cities a whole lot and does tours. He got DMCA striked just for walking by a restaurant and hanging outside of a restaurant for a second that was playing Kanye West, that he didn't have rights to, and he got a strike for that. There have been a couple of streamers who have immediately gotten 3 strikes within a 24-hour period and just been removed from Twitch because at 3 strikes you're out, you're banned. So they kind of go through Twitch. It's been a real problem on Twitch the last couple of months. Whereas before May of 2020, they had received 50 DMCA notifications since Twitch's inception. 50. Since May to now, which is at the time of recording November 11th of 2020, they have received multiple thousands of DMCA notifications per week since the beginning of May, of people targeting a lot of things like clips and VODs and things like that in years past, which has led to a lot of the streamers and content creators deleting their VODs and collections.
Yeah,
which is sad. But
it is sad.
I don't know exactly the way that Twitch has kind of handled this. This is what they said. So they have a whole shebang that they talk about, and I'll link in the YouTube video. But if you play recorded music on your stream, you need to stop doing copyrighted recorded music on your stream. And if you haven't, then you need to go through and delete any VODs or clips that have these music and stuff in them. Right? So that's their first thing. Is they just get rid of it, don't stream music. It's kind of lame. What about GTA car music? That's all copyrighted licensed music that Rockstar's bought. But if we buy the game, that EULA, which nobody reads, do you read the EULA user agreement?
No.
So fun fact, inside the EULA user agreement, there are things about licensing and streamings, and those licenses don't pass on to you as the streamer. So you are legally responsible for getting your own license if that music comes into play, which is wild. And that's what's kind of caused this massive strike to come through, or a lot of people playing music in the background.
And it's unfortunate because you don't earn money and you don't earn subs based off of the music that you play.
Nope.
The music is going to enhance your viewer experience. I get that. But me as a subscriber to a streamer, say, I don't get that subscription because of the choice of music that Wardell has or Tens has. It's just absurd, man. It's too much. It's too much. It's
kind of pushing it, and a lot of we've seen comments and things from offhand streamers like XQC and stuff where, I just took down terabytes, 4 or 5 years of work because you guys wanted to pay for a cup of coffee because of the minuscule amounts that they actually make based on this revenue split and stuff like that. You kind of take that however you want. You can have whatever side you want depending on what you're talking about. But the thing that I have an issue with here, and the way that Twitch has kind of handled this, is that they're okay, we're going to hold a couple education classes to teach you about copyright law. Okay, if you aren't a lawyer specified in copyright law is extremely hard and difficult to understand. It's very vague.
It's all law.
And it's all vague on purpose, so that the copyright holders have leverage and advantage in any case involving their copyright, because it's very difficult to prove intellectual property and timelines and stuff like that when it comes to ideas, especially in creative networks, right? But what this means is, we go on GTA, you got to mute car music. Okay, well, what happens when Cyberpunk that comes out, that so many people are going to play, has licensed music in the soundtrack? So they have to move the soundtrack off. We saw a guy on Stadia come out with the idea, or he said, well, maybe streamers should pay game companies to stream their games as a license. What happens if companies start to try to license their games out, for streamers to have to pay to play on stream? Nintendo already did this once. You used to have to split your stream's revenue with Nintendo when you streamed their games. That was in
I
their
know a lot
rule,
of
and they
a
got rid of
lot
that.
of related. I know a lot of companies now that will pay streamers to play their
Exactly.
game in the early stages of their game so that they can get more
It's
exposure.
advertised, right? So
Yeah.
if this concept becomes normalized of everything needs to have a license, like games, right? I understand music, I can understand artwork, but the way that this kind of progresses is towards games and needing a license to stream games. All of those big streamers that already get paid and handed the ability to stream those games, they're not going to stop getting those.
No.
Nick Merckx isn't going to lose their possibility of like him getting a deal to stream the next, Warzone that comes out. It's too big of
Yeah.
a platform. But, Johnny 269, who has 5 viewers and is just having fun playing Warzone on Twitch, is now going to have to pay Warzone to stream their game, and he might not have the money to do that, and that ruins a streamer's experience. So, does this go along with other brands that is not music, like drink companies or things like they're setting the stream back on? Yes,
I think
it can eventually, but it's not specifically under the DMCA.
Right. Just anything with a copyright is subject to copyright law.
Correct.
But the DMCA specifically applies to
Digital.
digital because it's the digital millennium. So yeah.
So
Here's a question for you.
and a lot of streamers do that to kind of finish answering the question in chat. They asked about other brands and stuff like that. So like Tim the Tapman, massive streamer. He's like one of the big faces. Like if we had a Mount Rushmore, he'd be on the Mount Rushmore of Twitch, right? He's sponsored by Monster. So you'll see a lot of Monster products in his room, or you'll see him like drink one or have a hat on occasionally sometimes. But you will never see him with a Red Bull because of the conflict and things like that of products. But he can still interact and work with people who are sponsored by Red Bull, like Ninja and stuff like that. So it can eventually maybe go to it, but not this specific set of laws that we're talking about.
Who is enforcing this DMCA? Is it the legislative branch? Who is?
No,
who's pushing this?
So the DMCA, the Copyright Act, is a piece of legislation, right? It's passed into law by the legislative branch, right?
Yeah.
But it's specifically then upheld by the legal departments of the people who hold the copyrights to whatever.
Okay, so if you're playing a Kanye song, it's Kanye's legal team that is enforcing the strike.
Which what they've probably got is some nerd who wrote an algorithm that scans sound bites and stuff on the Twitch, and it says, "Oh, I found it." And it sends an automatic notification.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And YouTube has something similar. YouTube actually has a algorithm that does this and will issue copyright strikes and say, hey, look, this piece of your video has copyrighted things. You can't monetize this video until it's taken out. You can take it down and re-upload it, and we'll reevaluate it. And if that happens so many times, then your account will get suspended. So, there's a thing to that, but it's specifically legal teams. It's not like DMCA is like a branch. It's just a specific law and act.
I know it's an act, but I'm just saying who is who's calling for this act to get written? Who asked?
It's just like probably individual legal teams for things like music companies.
Yeah, probably.
Is the big thing. Music specifically, this is kind of birthed out of the early 2000s, a rise of like things like piracy with LimeWire, Pirate Bay,
LimeWire,
all kinds of things that people would got into, like torrent seeding, that kind of thing, to get things illegally.
Right.
And because of that, music took a big hit until music streaming services came out with things like Spotify, Apple Music, Pandora, and they started making a little bit more money back off of the different deals and stuff that they have there. But yeah, it's kind of wild, man, and it's killing a lot of Twitch. Like I said, Twitch Sings is going to just be dead. A lot of IRL streamers are now going to have to be super careful or cut back on a lot of different styles of content that they're allowed to go for. Like,
you can't just vibe out, play some music, and play a chill game, a platformer. That's not a thing anymore.
Or you have to go for unlicensed music.
Yeah, or get the rights to the music, which, depending upon the music, is
extremely
next to impossible. Or expensive.
So I don't know. It's a weird direction. I hope Twitch reevaluates this and does this better, and this is kind of a band-aid, but until then we'll see exactly what happens. I already play copyright-free music on stream, other than our intro and outro music that you hear on stream, or individual videos, because we own the rights to that music. But yeah, it's nuts, and it's an interesting shift and paradigm for the game to kind of undertake. But What?
Nothing, just the
He's
whole
making
thing.
noises. Yeah, it's kind of wild. I don't know. Asmongold had actually a good point for once. No shade to Asmongold. It's like a lot of time his personality can kind of flare up, for his stream. The character that he kind of puts on. But he had some interesting points today, which made me kind of want to talk about it. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
What were his points?
Well, kind of the same thing. Is like
Curious.
where does this lead to? It's here now, and it's where it started. And he made this shift years ago of playing things like video game music with open public use. What is it? Not stipends, but
Underwriting?
like policies. Free use policies for people who want to reuse it are allowed to under the creative licensing that they put on their music. And he's been doing that for years, but a lot of things like, I don't know, and the way that it leads to other things like everything needing a license or subscription-based model, with a lot of the economy in general shifting to subscription-based products and services like streaming content, videos, channels or TV services, shipping products and services like Amazon Prime. All kinds of things are shifting to this kind of monthly payment plan because it's simple and it's easy. Whereas this licensing stuff that can make a massive impact is trying to do the same thing.
It's not even just simple and easy. It's just it garners more money in the long run.
Well, it's based off of the state of convenience that people want and immediacy. So I don't want to have to wait an extra 2 days for people to come out and set up my landline cable with a 2-year contract that I'm then locked into in order to receive a benefit. I'd rather just pay $14 a month and have this pre-garnered content without ads or limited ads in some cases. So it's that kind of mentality. But I don't know.
Let's move on, shall we?
Wild stuff. Yeah, my next topic that I want to talk about, because it's near and dear to me, and it's the game that I've been playing, and it's the pre-patch preparation for Shadowlands, which is World of Warcraft. I played World of Warcraft a long time ago. Specifically, I played through the Burning Crusade and original WoW pretty heavily, and then on and off through Wrath a couple of times, but not really. And then I picked it up again in WoD, played the entirety of WoD super hard, and then fell off the wagon. Came back a little bit for like a month between like Legion to BFA, and then stopped playing after that. Right after the beginning of BFA because it was garbage. And then I played Classic. But Shadowlands, I've been keeping up with the story because I like the story. Even if I'm not playing, I like the story of World of Warcraft. But Shadowlands is supposed to come out soon, and the pre-patch has started, which is super dope. And the first week is the Argent Crusade, so the Argent tournament in Icecrown, which you may remember from Wrath. I think did you play in Wrath?
I did. I played in Wrath and then WoD, and then I stopped, and then I raided last year.
Right. So the Argent Crusaders, like the tournament, right, in Icecrown. The Scourge, which is supposedly under the Lich King. The Lich King has been slain by Sylvanas. His crown has been stripped and broken, which has separated the veil between the Shadowlands, which is the internal afterlife, and the regular plane of existence. And the Scourge, who is now broken free, is invading the plane of the living. So you go back to Icecrown and where it all happened, and you fight back this kind of initial Scourge invasion, and farm their rep again.
Pandora's box there, man.
Yeah.
Open up Pandora's box. That is WoW lore.
It's so good. But anyway, so you go back to fight all these underworld creatures, farm up the rep for Argent Crusade again, which is super dope because they had, I don't know, I like Wrath of Lich King lore. It's super happy fun time for me.
Wrath of the Lich King was the best expansion that Blizzard
I'm really
put
sad
out.
that I missed the majority of it, but
Yeah.
I had baseball going on.
If they stick to the leveling sequence that they were talking about, that Ian and Watcher Dev were talking about, you can pick which level or which zone you level in, which expansion you level in. So if you get a chance, level through Wrath of the Lich King.
I watched a lot of content and the story and paid attention to it. At that time, I had like 4 practices a week for baseball or something, and some other stuff. I just didn't have time to play, so I didn't have enough time to farm gold to sell gold.
What I'm saying, like when you level in Shadowlands, you can pick your zone. So
no, I'm going to level through Shadowlands story for Shadowlands.
Maybe on an alt. There's, sure. Yeah, so like there's certain zones when you start fresh, like a new tune.
Yeah.
You can pick which expansion you level in.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Which is super dope. It's called
It's
something time. I forget
Chromie time.
the Chromie time. Chromie time.
Because we're alliance
And you
fights,
can
like real men.
yeah, yeah, and you can pick which zone that you level in.
Yeah,
So,
no, and I will eventually. I think I might do it on like a rogue or something. I don't know, because one of the classes I don't play a whole lot. That I'm gonna twink
Yeah.
for invincible runs and things like that. But that's not the cool part, right? So the cool part is that there's a whole bunch of rare world bosses that spawn, right? And all these rare world bosses that spawn are old raid bosses from the Wrath of the Lich King expansion. So things like Patchwork and Lanathel and all of those guys come back and they drop their original loot at current eye level, so you can get the old loot again for things like transbox and stuff, which is
super dope.
yeah. The only downside is that they spawn on 20-minute timers, so I get bored a lot and do homework in between world bosses or watch Netflix or sleep. Usually it's Netflix because I'm usually done with homework by then. So, but yeah, it's kind of fun. I'm excited. And next week the Scourge Invasion starts, where we get to turn players into zombies and then try to eat the rest of the players in major cities.
Oh,
Which is fun. So,
here's an interesting fact about World of Warcraft
oh boy,
that you listeners may or may not know. World of Warcraft predicted COVID,
it did.
and there was I forget the year, 2004, 2005, 2006, somewhere around there. There was this thing called the Blood Plague,
Yeah,
and
I remember this.
It started with one person getting infected with the Blood Plague on one server, right? And then every character that character came in contact with, it would spread the Blood Plague.
Yeah.
And then it was a huge thing. It was massive. You would have entire servers that had people infected with the Blood Plague.
Yep. And it wasn't even on purpose either.
And no, it was
a
an
bug.
accidental line of code that some developer fudged, and it turned into this massive plague and invasion. And they people in guilds were coming together to try to prevent the spread of the Blood Plague.
Yeah, it was wild.
And, this was 14 years ago.
Yeah, it was dope. It's great. It's like it's like an episode of The Simpsons.
We need to learn.
But it was a bug in a encounter
Bug.
where you got a debuff where it was supposed to be that if the player died, it would spread it to another player, and it dealt a lot of damage over time, and it had to be dispelled. But what they didn't mean for it to happen was that a pet could get it, but you couldn't dispel the pet, and so the pet would then spread it to a player, and he managed to finish the encounter while the pet had the plague. And then they got out of the encounter and spread it, and then they spread it to all the NPCs in major worlds and portals. It spiraled from there. So.
Yeah,
but it was kind of great, man. I know you reactivated your sub for a while.
I did,
but I don't know. Have you done any of the pre-patch content?
I haven't done pre-patch content. I reactivated to continue to do high Mythic Plus keys.
Fair enough.
So.
You're probably. I mean, you're above 100 eye level though, so it's not like the event is anything else but like nostalgia runs.
I finished last year completely geared out at Mythic Gear, nerding myself up here, but my eye level was 480 at the end of last year. Oops, I just
sending messages
in the chat. My bad.
It's kind of nice time, man. I'm excited. Next week we could fight zombies, which is kind of super dope. They buffed my favorite class, Fury Warrior, so I leveled my Fury Warrior because it's now at least on par with other melee specs for the most part.
Sheep.
Don't stop. Don't give me bad flashbacks.
Sheep.
I hate you. You stupid mage main.
Mage main? Hello?
I don't care. You keep sheeping me. Mage.
I'm a Death Knight.
I know.
Homie. I'm calling you a sheep. I'm not sheeping you. I'm calling you a sheep.
Oh, I thought you were trying to bring back PTSD from vanilla of getting sheeped when I try to hit people.
No,
I've been playing Warrior since before you knew what WoW was, so I don't want to hear your slack garbage, sir. But I don't know. I'm excited, but that's kind of all I got, man. That's kind of the big and bad for the gaming world currently. PS5 and Xbox X launched.
The PS5 launch?
I think so. They ship out tomorrow.
Okay.
Some people got some stuff early for their review copies, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
So they're supposed to start shipping out tomorrow, but the early copies apparently they've already had storage failures, where the storage drives and stuff have failed and not worked, and there have been alleged cases of Xbox Series S catching on fire on their first couple startups, which has been interesting. Smith has had nothing but flawless reviews of his Xbox S. So maybe it's
Smith will loves
conjecture hearsay, but it's good. It's a nice lull because tomorrow 3 different games launch, And then the rest of this month is packed with releases because the new console's coming out, as well as things like expansions for current games. So
Remind me, Saul, what comes out tomorrow?
Yakuza. I think the new Yakuza comes out tomorrow, and some other release titles. Because you're catching me off guard. Because I didn't pull this up. I was just gonna say there's lots of.
That's okay.
Lots of
We'll
releases.
figure it
I had a list. Okay, so Dirt 5 came out this month.
Dirt 5.
Which is a fun little racing game, right? So
Yep.
we have Dirt 5, Assassin's Creed Valhalla came out yesterday. Yakuza came out yesterday. Final Fantasy 13 Remake came out yesterday as well. And then, let's see, Just Dance 2021, Demon's Souls, Sackboy, Spider-Man with Miles Morales, Godfall, The Pathless, and then Cold War this weekend on the 13th, as well as some other Nintendo games coming out later this week.
And everything just trying to, everything
Everything in
dropping
November.
with the new consoles.
Yeah, so I'm
Good marketing move. Friday
It's a
the
good time.
13th, this Friday.
It is.
Spooky.
I'm going to be at work, so hopefully I just don't drop fryers.
You'll be protected by God's chicken.
I don't know about that one. No.
Saul works at Chick-fil-A.
No. We're not protected. We are cursed. But that's kind of all I got.
Protected.
I'm glad for everybody who came in and joined. Had a good time. Next week we'll talk about, I don't know, something gaming related probably. But thank you for joining us. As always, you can follow me, Solemn FPS on Twitter. Follow the show at OneTapcast on Twitter and Twitch and YouTube. And you can catch our live shows on Wednesday at 8 or random live streams throughout the rest of the week whenever I have the free time to get on and stream. Rums, they can catch you where?
Twitter.com/actual rums.
Attaboy. And as always, join our Discord, come hang out, and have some great games. And we'll catch you next time.
See you, everybody.